What's up, everyone? Welcome to Pat's Chat. I'm Doug Kyed, joined as always by Michael Hurley. We are a proud member of the CLNS Media Network. Make sure to hit subscribe on the Pat's Chat channel, Patriots Press Pass. Turn on notifications for when a new video drops on the channel. Michael, I arrived home from the NFL owners meetings about, I don't know, 13 hours ago, something like that. So we'll talk about everything that I learned there. Want to talk a little bit about the demise of PFF. We'll talk about the Patriots in general. But how are you doing on this Wednesday afternoon?
I'm good. I missed the free coffee promo at Dunkin' Donuts today. I was too
Oh,
late. They
damn.
gave away 1 million. I was too late for that. But you
You
know
were
what's
1
weird?
million and one.
I think they gave away 1 million and one. Anyways, happy April
You were
Fools
1
also.
million and two.
Yeah, happy April Fools. It's I'm gonna come off the bat with an April Fools take. I didn't plan this, but now that I said it, I would estimate 98% of April Fools jokes that like corporations and everything do, maybe 99% are really not funny. So that's where I'm coming in. But what's weird, Doug, is we've done this podcast like 1,000 times, would you say?
Somewhere
Um,
around there.
and I've talked with you not in the podcast probably 2,000 times. So
Sure.
that's 3,000 times. Never once have I like thought of you and got the Doug theme song in my head. But today
Really?
that we start the podcast, you're like, I'm Doug Kyed. I'm just like, do 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 do.
That
And
was a staple of my childhood, hearing that song.
yeah, how do you
So
feel about Doug? Because it's like
I
maybe
enjoy
not
I
the
enjoyed the show.
okay.
Um it never bought the it never bothered me, like the song or having a cartoon named after me. It was specifically named after me, of course.
True. Well, like Doug isn't like a rare exotic name, but it's also not a super common
It's
name.
not a
Like,
super common name for my age range,
yeah,
I would say.
older, yeah.
It would be more of like a Gen X name, I think
Like
you would
if,
say.
if there was a show, a cartoon when we were kids called Mike, it wouldn't even register with me because there were
Right.
so many Mikes. But it
There
must have
probably
had
were
a
many characters in TV shows named Mike. And yeah.
probably, yeah.
But Doug is rare enough where I I'm, I think at some point I could have gone by Douglas, but that seems maybe too formal. I don't
And then I'd do the Mr. Dink, hello Douglas, every time I talk
know.
to you. So it worked
Yeah.
out. You could have done it as a writer though, like the byline,
The byline of Douglas
Douglas
Kyed.
Tide.
Yeah.
Not bad. I do Michael because Mike Hurley sounds like one word and it
Mm,
just kind of reads
my
stuff.
curly.
So I've always done Michael on the byline.
Yeah. That's
Same
smart.
name. Yeah.
Well, it's too late to change Twitter handles and all that stuff. So
Mm.
I'm
Can you
Doug
imagine?
forever.
Can you imagine if Mike Reese was Michael Reese? I
Michael
can't.
Reese.
I truly can't. It'd be so
I
weird.
Michael Reese and I had the same flight last night, so we spent a lot
Yeah.
of time together. It was great.
Love Mike. I love Mike
Didn't
Reese.
sit
I
next to
don't
each other on the flight, but drove him to the airport. It was great.
a delightful man through and through.
Truly. All right, yeah. So the owners' meetings wrapped up yesterday. Owners' meetings are funny, and Andrew Callahan is, I think, the biggest proponent of this take, where it's kind of an event for no reason. Where so myself, Mike Vrabel, Robert Kraft, Elliot Wolf, John Stryker, Ryan Cowden, all of the people from the Patriots, Jonathan Kraft, Stacey James, everyone from the Patriots who was there, we all live in the same state,
Yeah.
but we all travel to a warmer climate
Yeah.
to talk to them.
2,250 miles away. Roughly.
Right, either Phoenix, Orlando, or West Palm, and they're there to meet and organize rules and decide on rules and do all these meetings. But they talk because we're going there. When we
Right.
could just talk at home.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm not complaining. It was nice to be out in Phoenix for a couple of days, but it is
Yeah.
a little silly in some ways. Yeah.
It's a little wasteful. I mean, it makes sense from your perspective because it's more exclusive because there's not
For sure. Less
there'd
people
be
there.
there'd be 80 people if it were in Foxborough. So
Hmm.
I guess that's the whole idea. But yeah, no, I get it. But you could say the same about really anything. Like
It is true.
you're
What is the point of anything?
all of that's true, but you have to go to the road games. You have to go to the Super Bowl. All these things
No,
are true.
100%. And it was valuable. We spoke to Robert Kraft. We spoke to Mike Vrabel. Um, and I guess we'll start off with AJ Brown. That's what everyone kind of wants to know about.
Mhm.
I don't know. I feel like I came out of these meetings and I don't know. I don't want this to get blown out of proportion or anything like that, but
Let me just write this down before you say it, so we can make sure it gets out there, blown out of proportion. Go
no,
ahead.
I don't know. I guess I would have like a little bit more confidence that AJ Brown would be coming here. It's not. I'm not saying it's happening. I'm not. But like, I went in with some percentage degree of confidence, and now it's slightly higher. I guess I would say.
It seems that way, and it seems like
Yeah.
other people join. Like we've been talking about it for months, and by
Right.
we I mean like New England, but it feels like I don't know. Other reporters and other places are like, oh yeah, there's some action that's going to take place there. To me, what stood out besides the reporting and speculation, the quotes from Howie Roseman and Nick Sirianni were so dreary to the state. Like there was nothing from those quotes, which were just, well, he's an Eagle.
Mm-hmm.
AJ Brown is an Eagle, and I would answer any question by saying AJ Brown is an Eagle.
Right.
There's no way out of that. Like that, there's unhappiness that will not be resolved, and basically saying, well, we own his rights, over and over again is a sign that a resolution is needed in Philadelphia on AJ Brown, and it doesn't involve AJ Brown playing for the Eagles anymore.
Right. And I asked Mike Vrabel during our 30-minute breakfast with him, or whatever they want to call it, on what is it today, Wednesday? So Tuesday morning, I asked him about AJ Brown. Certainly didn't shut it down. Kind of kept giving the same company answer of, we're doing everything. We want to do everything that we can to improve the team. I believe Elliot Wolf told, what was it, the Kyed show, that they haven't talked with the Eagles for a few months about AJ Brown. But this does feel like a situation where, if it does happen, we should probably stop talking about the possibility of it happening before the draft, because the Eagles would save cap space if they trade him after June 1st. They would subtract cap space if they trade him before June 1st.
Do they have enough room? I was thinking about that because, like, the Eagles, for
They
all
do have
intents and
enough room.
purposes,
Yes.
they're built for next year. So that, as much as we talk about that
Right.
insane dead cap hit,
Yeah.
how many more free agents? Like, they have to sign their rookie class, which is a set amount,
Right.
and so it's not as if there's a ton of free agents that they plan to sign at this point.
So they
So-
currently have almost $35 million in cap space. And if they trade AJ Brown before June 1st, it would subtract $20 million from that. So then they've got $15 million in cap space.
I thought
But
it was a $43 million hit if he gets traded.
it is, but it would subtract, the amount subtracted from their cap would be 20 million. Those are two different things.
So his cap number is like 60 right now. That doesn't make sense.
Well, no, his cap number is not 60, but if they trade him before June 1st, then all of the future cap hits accelerate into this year.
Okay. You know what? I'm glad other people do this for a living, because it just seems
Yeah.
like the weirdest. I mean, the NBA
It is. But like, dead cap in general would be 43. They would subtract $20 million from their cap space. That would leave them with around 15. But if they trade him, once again, after June 1st, then they would save $7 million on the cap this year, which would then also, that $7 million in savings would carry over into next year, where there would be additional savings. So
yeah.
it's
You know what?
convoluted and complicated, but it feels unlikely to be happening, I think, before June 1st.
Yeah. I mean, it
And
feels,
maybe they surprise me. I personally think it makes more sense for the Patriots to do it before June 1st.
well, yeah. I mean, it's a known give. You're at 31. You don't know next year's first. You assume
Right.
it'll be not. We assume they'll be not one of in the worst half of the league next year, right? That seems like a
Right.
fair. But you don't know what tomorrow will bring. Not to be all. Was it John Lynch or Kyle Shanahan that was like, we might not be around Sunday?
I think it was Kyle Shanahan.
Yeah, very dark. But I mean, it's true. I mean, God forbid. What if Drake May breaks his arm in week 1?
Right.
How's your season looking? And then that pick, if you're trading next year's first, is potentially a top 10 pick, and it's detrimental. And what do you have AJ Brown for with Tommy DeVito, et cetera, et cetera? So
Right.
the known commodity is almost riskier just in the Patriots Eagles blocks.
Right.
It's riskier for the Patriots to trade next year's first round pick. Do you think it'll take
Yeah.
next year's first round pick? I assume it will, because of the whole calculation of next year's picks being less valuable than this year's, but I don't know.
I would guess it will. And plus, with the Jalen Waddle trade, I feel like it would look pretty bad for the Eagles to take less than what the Dolphins got.
What if, say, a player went?
I mean, that could certainly be a possibility. I don't know who that player would be that would have that much value.
Well,
I
what
also
about a wide
think that
receiver?
you're thinking like what Booty or something.
Yeah,
Maybe I don't know, but what's Keyshawn Booty's value on the trade
he could
block?
play NFL wide receiver for them. Like
For sure,
they need to compete this year, and he could
right.
help with that. I don't think it's like, oh, straight up 1-for-1, but maybe Booty and a third is more palatable than a first and a third, given that.
I think the best bet for it not to be a first round pick, sorry to cut you off, would be like I'm forgetting the word. Like a conditional.
Okay,
It's
yeah.
based on conditions, you know.
Can I ask? I asked. I was doing a show with Barth the other day, which was
Mm,
a blast
hell yeah.
because I like to just sort of needle Barth for being like, I think I can get really deep in the weeds on Pro Football Reference,
Hmm.
but I'm still like a hobbyist,
Right.
and he's like a professional. He's actually a brand ambassador. But anyways, I asked him this question because we were talking about this the other day. Doug Kyed, Patriots beat reporter for the Boston Herald. Off the top of your head, how many receiving yards did Kayshon Boutte have last year?
500 something.
He got it right. He got it right, folks. It's 551, which is like, didn't it feel like he was over 700? Like he was.
Well, yeah, because he was on pace for like 900 early in the
Yeah.
season, but then the production just completely tailed off after the injuries. Yeah.
So you wonder if you were to bring in AJ Brown
Right.
and you have Romeo Dobbs.
Yeah.
What does that do to what is Kayshon Boutte's role?
No, I think that you
Oh.
could absolutely trade a wide receiver as part of the package for AJ Brown. It's just not going to offset a first round pick.
What if it's Boutte in a second? You know, Boutte in a third instead of like there's a way. I feel like there's a way there where you're not giving up the first because, like I said, you don't know what that first is going to be.
I think it would. I mean, I might be way off base on this one, but like if it takes a first and a third, let's say to trade for AJ Brown, I feel like Booty offsets the third more than the first.
Well, unfortunate. How about this? If you're the Eagles, I'm just going to go deep on this, right?
Yeah.
Would you rather have Kayshon Boutte or Kyle Williams?
That's a good question. Probably Booty, more of a
Mhm.
like they're around the same age, I think.
Oh yeah, Boutte is young, 23. Williams 23.
Yeah. And
This season, this
Booty's
past.
a little bit more of a proven commodity at this point. Like you know that he has the ability to put up 500 yards 2 years in a row. Williams, you have no idea.
Mhm.
Um,
I'm just spitballing because you
and
know
like
last year's third could have some value, but I don't know what it is.
with the Eagles, also like you've already got Devontae Smith in there, who's a slightly built wide receiver. Kyle
He's-
Williams is also kind of a slightly built wide receiver, whereas Kayshon Boutte, not tall, but
Stock.
a bigger guy.
He's
Yeah.
firm. This is actually Devontae Smith's legs. I have always hated watching him because I'm like, I'm going to see his leg snap when he goes up, you know, and like
Yeah.
the legs kind of spread apart. You're just kind of. He's been pretty healthy throughout his
He
NFL
has.
career. I've been scared of that since draft day.
I do want to talk about, so it almost feels pointless. Like if this deal is almost certainly going to get done after June 1st, then it's kind of pointless to talk about the value of the Patriots 31st overall pick. But I'm at the point right now, and I'm not going to pretend like I've done as much work on this draft class as other people, but I'm a big picture guy when it comes to the draft these days. I'm looking at a mock draft right now. You've got a quarterback at number 1 overall. You've got Arvell Reese, who's a linebacker / edge rusher. Like he's been compared to Jamie Collins as the 2nd overall pick. You've got an edge guy number 3. You've got a running back at 4, another off-ball linebacker at 5. You've got a tackle at 6, an edge guy at 7, a wide receiver at 8, a tackle at 9, and a safety at 10. So you've got a safety, a running back, and 2 off-ball linebackers going in the top 10 picks of a 2026 mock draft. I'm sorry, does that not tell you that this might be a historically bad draft class?
I mean, it sounds like it. You're talking about
The
least.
wide receiver was the number 2 receiver on Ohio State. He's not even the top guy on his team.
Yeah, because he's trapped in college for 15 years.
Right.
But yeah, it might be. I'm trying to think of a comparable year where at least
2013 maybe?
what? Yeah,
Like that's the draft class that everyone always talks about being as bad as it was.
yeah.
And that's when
guess,
EJ
like-
Manuel went 16. Like in a normal year, I don't
Yeah.
think we'd even be talking about Ty Simpson being a first round pick. But in this year, it's like, Well, why not take him in the first round?
Right. Yeah.
So then you get down to
would
31. And like, I do think the depth of this draft might be better than the high end of this draft. But even like Ruben Bain, who on this mock draft, he is going number, what is it? 7 overall. He has 30-inch arms, 30 and 7/8 inch. Like we were talking about Will Campbell last year. Ruben Bain is right there with him as an edge rusher, having like historically short arms. And once again, talking about him as a top 10 pick.
let's line them up together.
I think it's only fair if they face off against each other every week.
I suppose. I mean, ultimately, we don't exactly know, but based on the positions you listed, you're making the case, which is very exciting for draft night for all of us.
Sorry to spoil draft night, but no, I mean, like Ruben Bain, 6'2", 263, 30 and 7/8 inch arms, and that guy's most likely going to be a top 10 pick. I don't know. I mean, I'm doing everything I can to trade picks out of this draft, I feel like.
Yeah, I just quickly Googled the worst first round in NFL draft history, and the Reddit thread came up, and the first comment was 2013.
2013 was rough. You had Lane Johnson, but you had like Deion Jordan.
Is this true? I gotta look at someone. You never know on a Reddit comment. You know that's like that requires some level of.
Well, to be fair, I was also the one who immediately said 2013. Eric Fisher, number 1 overall, Luke Jokel, Deion Jordan, Lane Johnson, Ezekiel Ansah, Markevious Mingo, not Markevious Bingo.
That's a better name.
It is. Jonathan Cooper, Tavon Austin, D. Milliner, Chase Warmack, DJ Fluker, GG Hayden. Like, there are actually some guys in this draft, like DeAndre Hopkins was in this draft, Travis Kelce was in this draft, Zach Ertz. The Patriots got Jamie Collins, Daron Harmon, Logan Ryan. Like, they got a good haul, but the first round is rough.
So that year, this is actually verified. The Dolphins were at 12. They traded up to 3. So they moved up from 12 to 3. And outside of that swap, all it cost them was a second round pick.
That's pretty crazy. Yeah.
That's usually like a future first and another future first and a second. So yeah, pretty tough up top. But I mean, like you said, that draft was, if you look at players still in the league, there's like 10 of them in the late first, early second. So I guess that's where you really got to earn your money as an evaluator and front office guy.
Yeah, I mean, I guess in a weak draft, like around where the Patriots are picking, DeAndre Hopkins went, Cordell Patterson, Travis Frederick, Zach Ertz, Darius Slay, Geno Smith. So like there are, maybe when it is a weak top half and there's still depth, maybe you can still find some guys. But with Arvell Reese, the fact that like Jamie Collins is the guy that everyone comps to him, and that might be the 2nd overall pick. Jamie Collins was a good player, but I don't know.
He's no, what was it? Solomon Thomas went 3rd one year.
Yeah. Yep. Not great. That, I mean, that might be the way that like Ruben Bain looks in the NFL. Who knows?
Yeah. I guess in a way it's easier. Like no one wants to draft a running back like 4th, right? But in a year like this, it's like, well, what are you going to do? You got to draft the running back 4th.
Yeah. If the other guys are not worth that, then if you only get 4 years out of him, at least you might be getting a good player for 4 years rather than, I don't know. I think, I don't know. I don't want to go too deep into non-Patriots draft stuff, but this is a year where I would just look at what, maybe not like who's the best player available, but what player makes us better earliest. You know what I mean? And I know that like those are two similar thoughts, but like if you are set up for success at running back, then yeah, take the running back. But if your offensive line sucks, and if you've got, and then you like think you can add a running back and just improve your team overall, that's where I would stay away from that. Because if that guy's not going to find success in the first 2 or 3 years based on the structure of your team, then it's just a complete waste of time to add that guy.
You'd be more comfortable with high floor, low ceiling guys rather than throw some darts at maybe the potential high ceiling guys. Can I do one last, as I was clicking through these drafts, the 2011 draft? Can I just run through like the
that's
top
one of the
12
best
for
of all
you?
time, right? Yeah.
Yes, with the cap, like the butt is incredible. Okay, so first overall, Cam Newton, league MVP, like good pick.
Okay.
Second pick, probably the best one out of all of them, Von Miller. Number 2, number 3, Marcel Darius, good pick. Number 4, AJ Green was a good pick. Number 5, Patrick Peterson, good pick. Number 6, Julio Jones, pretty good pick. Number 7, Alden Smith, I'd say that's a good pick. Not as good as the other ones, but it worked. Number 8, Jake Locker. What?
Woof.
Unbelievable. Yeah. Number 9, Tyron Smith.
Yep.
Great pick. Number 10, Blaine Gabbert. Oof. Number 11, JJ Watt.
Who I would argue is the best of this group. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. I spoke too soon, but it's those two. And number 12, Christian Ponder. It's like, man, you had JJ Watt sandwiched from Gabbert and Ponder. Like that's a great picture of the NFL draft for me.
I think that if there's a team considering taking, and I guess it's a bad comparison because there's no JJ Watt in this class, but like if you're thinking about reaching for Ty Simpson in this class, like kind of look at that draft and be like, maybe we don't do that. Maybe we take a shot on someone else. Yeah.
You could even like throw JJ McCarthy into that mix because there was that a couple of years ago. It was like, oh, all the quarterbacks are going. Like Bo Nix went too early, so then JJ McCarthy had to go too early, and it's not a strategy for success. This is not, Doug, on our topic list probably. But while you mentioned Ty Simpson, should we just say like to Patriots fans, like you should feel a little heartened maybe, or I don't know the right word for it, encouraged by the fact that Dan Orlovsky, his weirdness extends beyond the Stafford May debate that sort of hovered over the late season, and that the dude's going to do weird stuff and say weird stuff about a lot of things now, and you're not alone, and a lot of other people are catching on. So that's our handle on that one.
I mean, we talk about Orlovsky a decent amount on this podcast. I think he seems like a decent guy. I have friends who are friends with him. The one thing that I do take issue with is that like he goes out on a limb with things. Like obviously he's gone on a limb by saying that Simpson's better than Fernando Mendoza or whatever the point was, and saying like what big games have Mendoza played in, all these things. Like he's got to know when he's saying these things that it's going to catch the ire of people and that people are not going to be that happy about it. The issue that I have is then when he posts the picture of like choose kindness.
Kindness is free or something.
You've got to know that the things you're saying are going to generate a reaction. So then you can't also play that card. And I understand that it's sports, but we're all smart enough at this point to know what kind of vitriol sports opinions generate out of people. So
but he's also
it's hard to play it both ways if you're going to go on a limb with things.
You also like when it's pure dumbassery, you can't be like, well, it's just an opinion. It's like, well, you said what big games did he play in about the guy who won the Big Ten in the national championship? Like he played all of the big games you are allowed to play in college and played better than the person you're trying to prop up in big games. And it's weird because he sort of staked his claim in sports media as like the film guy who like based it in like, here's the film, here's what happened, an evaluation of it, and like this is what's going on, and like you don't bat 1,000 when you do that because like you don't know certain things, but you do a good job and you're clearly doing the work. When you just do like flat out, like some opinions are wrong. Like if you say what big games did Fernando Mendoza play in, like that's not, so it's like people are going to get mad because you're kind of ruining their experience by just kind of being a dumbass. So people are going to call you a dumbass. It's kind of part of it. Yeah, but very strange, just a weird man. That's my take on, he's a weird guy.
Some other things to discuss coming out of owners meetings. Anything else specific stand out to you about things that Robert Kraft or Mike Vrabel said? We had 18th game on the schedule. We had Trevion Henderson.
Every team to an international game, which feels like oversaturation to an extreme.
I agree. I guess when you expand to as many countries as they have, of like Australia and like isn't like South Korea on there, and
Brazil was last year,
Brazil and
Mexico.
Italy and Spain, and I guess like when you've expanded to that many countries, unless you're going to play in a place once every 10 years, I guess you have to play 16 games internationally every year. But I don't know.
It's like, just look at the Australia game. It's like they have to shoehorn it in at 10:30 or 11 a.m. in Australia on a Wednesday. I don't know what the work schedule is like in Australia. I don't know if
Yeah.
they have a lax system of just skipping work to go to an NFL game, but it feels like they're setting it up to be kind of a dud in Australia, which should theoretically be the point of this entire endeavor, right?
Yeah,
It's not for us, it's for them, but we got to appease the American TV. And it's like there is a whole world and there are different time zones and it just can't quite work perfect.
right. If you've got to go across the world to play, it just might not work out. I don't know. I have just as much of a problem with. So I like the fact that ESPN is not going to do the double headers on Monday nights anymore because I've just never liked that. But I didn't consider the other option of like, oh, now they're going to shoehorn, to use your phrase, those games into just random other places. Like
Tuesday afternoon, because
right, are we going to have a Tuesday night game this year? Like we're going to have what Thanksgiving Eve is obviously a Wednesday, so they're going to throw it in there. But there's now like multiple games that don't have a spot on the schedule that they have to just like create.
Well, there were two situations that arose that like first was obviously COVID. Remember there were games that like there was like Tuesday afternoon.
Yeah.
There was the Patriots Chiefs was like 6:00 on a Monday. It was marvelous. There was I think the Titans ended up playing a Wednesday game at like 1 p.m.,
Right.
which was awesome at the time because we were all like at home and it was like
Yeah.
wonderful. But that pushed the limits of what was possible. And then there was I think Christmas was Wednesday last year, right? Or Thursday. It was Wednesday. I believe Christmas Day was. So they're like, or it was getting close to that, close enough where they could be like, oh, we could just turn the dial 1 degree more and start playing on all these different holidays and days that we just want to own the schedule. So I don't know. It worked.
It's Thursday. Yeah.
So this year is probably a Wednesday and they probably have to start adjusting.
No, I think it's a Friday this year.
Then they do
it's
the Black
usually the way
Friday.
The calendar works.
You're right about that. You really. So it was Wednesday the year before, and I think they played on Wednesday.
Right.
That year. They played on Christmas Day 2 years ago. So they've been ever so slightly pushing the boundaries of what's acceptable, and that's what you get. I think I never wanted 17 games, but it's here. So it's like you might as well do 18 with the second bye. I don't know.
Right, because at this point, 17 with one bye might be more dangerous than 18 with two byes.
Yeah, like you have a week 5 bye, and then you're playing for 3 straight months.
Yeah, or you have like a week 15 bye, and you have to play 14 games beforehand. Yeah,
it's not. Is that so? Like that part is fine, I guess. But yeah, it's, when Robert Kraft spoke about it, it seemed like that's just sort of the basis. Like there wasn't like, oh, well, we'd like to do this. It was like, this is what we'll do, most likely.
Right, and the lack of a preseason game. Once again, like 3 preseason games, it feels like NFL teams still haven't figured out how to handle that.
Yeah.
Where they're like, I don't know what to do with any of these.
Yeah.
And now 2 feels like, all right, so in one of them, no one plays. And then in the other one, maybe your guys play for like a couple series.
Yeah, it's difficult. They probably would need some sort of a better. They'll probably have bigger practice squads or something just so they don't have to cut as many people.
Is training camp going to be as long, though? It would have to be, right? But isn't that weird to only play 2 preseason games while still have training camp take up whatever it is, like 6 weeks or whatever?
Like if week 1 is still coming after Labor Day and you're reporting to camp July 29th.
Yeah.
That's a boring stretch.
It's a very long stretch without...
They love joint practices, though, so I guess you do joint practices without a preseason game.
So it sounds like the Patriots will have joint practices in New England against the Eagles. Vrabel was being funny yesterday. One of the Eagles reporters asked him about it. He's like, yeah, I mean, we weren't going to do it, but then Nick said that we were yesterday, so now we're kind of forced to do it. And then like kind of nudged someone, started laughing, smiling. So
Andy,
he was on one yesterday. He was in a good mood. It was great.
He crumpled up Joe Brady's nameplate.
Did you see the replies from Bills fans about that?
I might have seen a couple.
I read like every single one because I forgot who it was. I think it was like Matt Perino or one of the Bills reporters who put that out there. And he was like, funny moment. Once Mike Vrabel wrapped up his session, he walked over to Joe Brady, like picked off his nameplate, crumpled it up and threw it on the table. And like both guys laughed. And then people were like, was that supposed to be funny or something? Like, I mean, yeah, both guys laughed and he said it was a funny moment. Like Bills fans were pissed about it. And
Vrabel was a bully.
I don't know if it's just what I've seen on social media, whatever it is, but like I feel like when the Bills were bad, Bills Mafia was like an awesome fan base, didn't take themselves too seriously, jumping through tables, all this kind of stuff. like the success without winning a Super Bowl has made them now just insufferable, and it's a bad place that they're in right now.
I'm with you. I'm
Yeah.
with you. Did you take much from Kraft's answer when asked about? I think it was Karen asked, like, what's your philosophy? There's a philosophy of signing guys earlier so that you're not basically chasing the money. And then the answer was just like a Wikipedia article about how teams are run. Like, well, we have a salary cap, so there's a
Right.
limit to how much you can spend. And there is a thought that if you sign guys ahead of time, it ends up costing less in the long run. I believe the quote was, well, we always try.
So
It wasn't
I think the
encouraging.
Patriots, I think they don't want to get themselves into a situation like the Eagles are in right now, where you are unable to part with a player because of the salary cap implications. So I think that they want to be smart about the cap and not get themselves into tricky situations that the Saints were in for years and years and years, where like every year you have to extend the oldest guy in your roster just to be able to make it into the season.
I mean, the Saints are in their own league.
For sure. But like the Eagles are doing it, like a lot of teams do it. The Bengals historically don't do it. And the Patriots historically don't do it because this has been their philosophy and it's worked for a number of years. And I don't think that they necessarily want to change it. At least that's what I think. So, but I do also think that it's pretty easy to extend Christian Gonzalez and Drake May when he's up for it next year, while also being in a good salary cap position. I would personally try to extend Christian Gonzalez earlier than later because it does come with benefits of that salary being lower now than it might be in 5 or 10 months or whatever it is.
Right.
But no, I mean, I don't know. It's tough to say. I think that they believe in spending up to the cap. That's what it seems like.
I guess,
and that's what they've always done.
Philosophically, if you have a first round pick, and now I know it's a different regime, it's a whole different situation, but you were at 14, you traded down to 17, you pick a cornerback, and you could not have done better with that pick.
No.
Like we were discussing a month ago, like would you have been better off with Smith and Jigba? And it's like a fair conversation. But like you're talking about two of the better players in the NFL. So you could not have done better with your pick.
Right.
Here you are a few years later. Philosophically, like you nailed it. You aced it. You got 100. Isn't it useless if you don't sign the player? Like there has to be, you can't just function like you want to rely on the draft. Yes, but when you draft a star player,
right, then you have to extend them.
Who's among the 3 or 4 best players at his position in the whole league, then you kind of have to sign him to that extension.
And I think they will. I just think they've got to kind of figure it out first. But it does. I know the Seahawks have gotten out in front of it now before the Patriots have. So I still think it gets done, but they're just clearly waiting on something to do it at this point.
To the point of what we're saying, like if you sign him right now, it's probably $32 million a year because you had Stingley at 30, you had Sauce Gardner at like 30, a little more than that, and then who was it?
McDuffie.
McDuffie got 32,
31,
I
think.
So you're looking at if you want to bump $32 million a year, it's like, is that way too much for a corner? Like, sure, but like this is how these things work.
And then in 3 years, there's gonna be someone making 35. So
exactly,
Gonzalez is gonna be looking pretty decent at 32 or whatever. Yeah.
So I guess if you're the Patriots, right? Because it seems as though there's obviously nothing's done. That doesn't mean nothing will get done. It's April 1st. There's plenty of time. If you had hesitations and you're the Patriots, I could come up with he's missed time as a rookie and this year. And I could come up with that's it. Those are my demerits from Christian Gonzalez.
Right.
Like I can't even say he doesn't stick his nose in there and make tackles against the run. Like he's not a big, huge guy that is like a super physical player, but when needed, I've never seen him shy away or like play like soft or finesse. Like I think he's better than some of those guys at the top of the cornerbacks list. So missed 3 games this year, right? To start the year? Or was it 4?
It was 3, yeah.
And missed 12 or 13 games as a rookie.
Right. And that was like, unavoidable to miss that time. He'd had season-ending surgery. So
Guy landed on his shoulder.
right,
That's all I got. That's literally all I got. And it's like, yeah, well, it's tackle football, so sure,
right.
availability is always a question with everyone.
But you have to do it. All right, let's talk real quick about Prize Picks while we're on it. Playoff push is heating up, and tournament hoops are here, and there's no better way to cash in if you're right on the high-flying hoops action than Prize Picks, where it always feels good to be right. Every bucket, every dime, and every win means more when you're playing on Prize Picks. And with their brand new Team Picks markets, you can now pick game winners, spreads, and totals on top of the player picks you already know. So cash in if you're right during all the clutch buckets, slam dunks, and Cinderellas this spring with Prize Picks, with Team Picks on Prize Picks. And also on Prize Picks, you can get NFL season Prize Picks. So if you believe that Drake May will have more than 24 and a half passing touchdowns, you can throw that in your lineup. If you believe that he'll have more than 3,649 and a half passing yards, you can do that as well. Looking at other Patriots Prize Picks, Romeo Doubs, 5.5 receiving touchdowns. Romeo Doubs, 749.5 receiving yards. I mean, personally, I would have May for more than 24 and a half passing touchdowns. How do you feel about that?
Personally, Doug, I don't want to tell anyone how to live their life, but if you're sitting here on April 1st doing any less thans, like I don't know what's going through your brain. Like what kind of life are you leading? Like
It's really true.
what's the point of getting out of bed if you're like, yeah, he's going to throw for under 30? Like, come on. It's a more than kind of time. If you're doing it week by week, yeah, there's plenty of decisions to make. But
Right.
come on. What are we doing?
And Dobbs, that's a tricky one. 5.5
Yeah.
receiving
Both.
touchdowns and basically 750 receiving yards.
Theoretically, he should have more than, but new system,
Theoretically,
you never quite know.
If they do acquire AJ Brown, those totals aren't looking
Yeah.
as much of a sure thing.
That's a good point.
But you can download the Prize Picks app today and pick your first game winner, spread, or total as the playoff push rolls on, and get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup when you use code CLNS. That's code CLNS to get $50 in daily fantasy lineups when you play your first $5 lineup. Prize Picks, it's good to be right. We're the baseball boys, and you can also do some baseball Prize Picks as well, which is fun.
I have actually a Pats related baseball thought, but I'll save that for our baseball boys talk later because we should probably. I mean, it is the Pats Chat podcast. So
it is the Pats Chat podcast. So
did you?
Go ahead.
There was a sense. I mean, Kraft only spoke for 4 minutes, so you flew to Arizona and got the owner for 4 minutes. But the third question was, tell us about the practice facility, and it felt like kind of a throwaway. But he was a little sassy about it. Like, oh, I'll see what all you experts have to say about how well it works and compares to our peers. And it's like, is this a good peek behind the curtain at how owners really feel about these surveys that have come out and put light on a lot of these things that we otherwise wouldn't really know or think about?
Yeah, I also asked Mike Vrabel about how seriously he takes the NFLPA report card. And I found his answer interesting about that as well, where he said it's not so much about the report card, but about like the feedback that we get specifically from players, like in person.
Right. Like you might give an F grade for treatment of families and then write like there's no this. And
well, he was more saying like when he speaks to players in person about these issues, which I do still think there's value in the report cards. Of things that you're willing to say anonymously that you might be not willing to say to your boss, essentially.
To your boss who's 6'4", 245, still in peak physical condition and doesn't take a lot of guff.
Right.
Even if he's being nice, you don't want to confront someone like that. And not that everything is confrontational, but you know what I mean?
But I also do take it as him saying like, hey, if you're willing to come up to me and tell me, hey, this isn't good enough, we need this, then we will do that for you. But if you're only writing this in an anonymous survey through the NFLPA, maybe we won't.
Hmm.
And with that, I do kind of respect that, I guess. Like, hey, if you feel passionately enough about this, come up to me, come in my office and tell me about it. So I'm not sure if that's exactly what he meant by that statement,
Hmm.
but I do think there is some value to that of, hey, if it's important enough to you, tell it to me, you know?
Hmm. I still find the airplane thing crazy. Like it's been 2 years
Yeah,
now talking about the players hating the planes, and it's
right.
like, but we bought the planes. We painted trophies on them. How? It's
I think
unbelievable.
the issue is just that like planes are really effing expensive.
Yeah,
So,
we've run the numbers here on Past Chat. You
yeah,
don't want to be getting in the plane business.
but I think it does tell you why more teams don't have their own planes and why they do charter planes instead is that planes are expensive.
Mm.
And if they're not as good as the planes that you're used to flying on commercially, then it might come back to bite you a little bit. So
Do you remember
yeah.
in the 2019 season? I believe they played in Houston. I'm pretty sure it was Houston. They had a road game, and half the team was so sick they had a sick plane,
Yes.
and they split everyone up on like healthy and sick planes. And then 3 months later, or maybe 5 months later, a worldwide virus shut down the
Yeah.
whole world. And I was like,
Yeah.
I swear it was happening before March of
I
2020.
think it
Because
probably was. Yeah.
how many times have you heard of? Well, we got two planes. We'll throw the sick people on one. And imagine you're like you get the sniffles and you get thrown in the sick plane.
No.
Kind of
No.
barbaric. It's barbaric.
It really is. But yeah, I mean, I thought that, yeah, it was, I haven't seen the facility yet. I think I'll be able to see it soon. There's kind of an open invitation to the media to check it out because I think they are proud of it. And I think that it's not like a massive building, but it's notable that it's only the football offices that are in there. So there's a lot of space for football. And Vrabel seems psyched about it. Robert Kraft seems psyched about it. And Mike Reese got to look at it. He wrote that it's, I think he used the word like stunning or something like that. So I think overall it's going to be a positive for the Patriots to actually have a real facility because they haven't for
Hmm.
since they moved into Gillette Stadium at least.
Hmm.
I'm not sure how things went before that. I
I
wasn't there.
would say, based on my knowledge of Foxborough Stadium slash Safer Stadium slash Sullivan Stadium, probably not good. Probably not good. There was one of those, maybe it might have been the Brady ESPN documentaries. Remember they did like what, 7 of those?
Yeah.
There was a clip from after the divisional round in '01, the snow game against Oakland, where the players were like walking into the locker room, and it was just like such a dump. Like, and I think I asked Ted Johnson about this once. Like, what is it like to go from? He played at Colorado, which isn't like
Right.
the biggest program. It's a big time
Hmm.
college program. I was like, what is it like to go and you finally get in the NFL and it's like folding chairs and cement blocks. Like that's
Right.
your home stadium. Like kind of unbelievable that
Yeah.
was the NFL for quite some time. And now it's look at Vegas, look at Minnesota, look at all these places sparkling, glistening.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it was time. Some other things that we talked about with Vrabel, Kraft believed that the Patriots overachieved last year, which I would agree with. And he said that the goal was to make the playoffs this year. Vrabel said goal remains the same. Championships are the goal. So Vrabel's not using the schedule as an excuse heading into this year, which
I believe the
I don't know.
quote
I mean, I
was
think is like kind of obvious, but it's also a little refreshing to hear, I guess.
everything in this league is hard was a good quote from
Yes.
him. They should put that on a t-shirt.
I'm sure they will if they can make money off of them.
That's true.
Um, it sounds like they plan on drafting their third quarterback, which makes sense. They also talked about how that tells you where Drake May is at in his career, where he's now kind of old enough where he's not gonna like groom a guy, but he's
Established.
settled enough and established enough where you don't need to worry about, oh, Joe Milton's breathing down his neck or whatever it is. Like I think that now that he's in his third year and there's been so much changeover on the roster and that he's on his second regime, new players aren't coming in the building being like, oh, that's a young guy. That's a rookie. That's a 30-year player. They're like, oh, that's our starting quarterback. And we just follow him at this point. So I think in some weird way that helped him to bridge the gap between Mayo and Vrabel and to have this much changeover on the roster where if it was still 2018 and the team was filled with Devin McCourty and Duron Harmon and Dante Hightower and all these other guys, they would just probably always look at a third-year quarterback as like, that's the rookie, that's the young guy, blah, blah, blah. Whereas on this team, he's just as much of a veteran as anyone else.
I actually had a thought on this. Is a really high level thought. This is only for big brain people like me. He was at the Bruins game last night. They showed him on TV
with a shaved head.
He looked, and it wasn't. I think he had a hat on when I saw him.
Yeah,
he just looked. He looked older.
Yeah,
he looked more like an adult.
That's a really high level thought of that. People do age. Yeah.
This is called baby fat chat, and Drake's lost.
Yeah,
Drake's lost some of his baby fat. How far into the list of quarterbacks do you think they'll get? Like if you're talking, I don't know, what, 5th round quarterback? How and where's it's just fun to talk quarterback drafts, even if it's like, a 6th rounder who might never play.
Yeah. I mean, there's a North Dakota State quarterback who's like a really great athlete. Who was the quarterback who ran like the 4.340?
I don't know. That sounds like some nerd stuff. The North Dakota State quarterback, Cole Payton.
Yeah, Cole Payton.
6'3", 233.
Talon Green, Arkansas. He had a 4.3 640, 43.5-inch vertical leap, and 11'2" broad jump. He's basically Calvin Johnson as a quarterback.
Oh, I think, yeah. Go for it.
I would take him. He's 6'6", 227.
Who's that?
Talon Green.
That's tall.
Yep.
That's real tall. That's my draft analysis for today. But yeah, I don't know. You know who's not tall?
Who?
Diego Pavia.
No, he's not. Neither is Ty Simpson.
Really? I heard
he's like 6 feet.
I heard he's worthy of the number 1 pick.
Outside of that, they want to draft a tight end, which makes sense because Julian Hill is currently their number 2.
Oh, can I say something? But piggybacking off what you said then?
For sure.
Do I ever in a million years want to take a tight end in the first round? No.
Right.
This year? Quite possibly.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like not I think the Oregon guy is going to go earlier, but yeah, like if you have to reach a little bit for a tight end and if you believe in him, then do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I don't know. This was, again, I was talking with Barth the other day, and he knows like everyone that had 100 yards at tight end last year in college.
Well, but Eli Stowers would be probably the number 2 guy, and yeah, why not?
It seemed like there might be 3 guys in that first 40 picks range call it. So possibly, because like you said, is that maximizing what you could possibly do with the first round pick? Maybe not, but if you can get some useful, even immediate snaps out of them, then it's something that maybe you do this year that you wouldn't do other years.
1000%. All right. I do have some non-football stuff to address. Anything else from Kraft or Vrabel or Goodell or how do you feel about the refs?
They gotta figure the refs out. Like we can't do this again. There's a song by Frank Turner called 1933, and it's about how the Nazism can't happen again.
Right.
And he was like, if I was of the greatest generation, I'd be pissed. And then it ends with, I'd be telling my grandkids we already did this. Mm-hmm. That's how I feel about replacement refs. It was only 13 years ago, but like clearly people forget.
Right.
Remember the Sunday night Patriots Ravens game where like Belichick grabbed a referee on the way off the field and was like, "Hey, dummy, you suck." Like it was so. I mean, everyone remembers the film area, and they're like, "Oh, yeah, it was bad." It was so bad. What was it? 4 weeks? 5 weeks?
Yeah.
Probably 3 or 4 weeks. But it felt like it was. We think the current refs are bad,
right? And
then you go to the minors of it. It was brutal. Like there's never any reason for this to happen, and here we are again.
It is pretty unbelievable that we're talking about it again. Yeah, they can't do the replacement refs. I don't know. I just when it comes down to ultimately like money for the refs, the league's got a lot of money. I can't necessarily be on the side of let's not pay them enough. I think there should be accountability for the refs. I think that they are playing a dangerous game where at some point having humans out there might not make sense. Like if there's enough camera angles for a couple of guys to just do the games from home,
yeah,
they might not necessarily need to be out there.
I I mean, that being said, the electronic measurement system was a train
that was
wreck last
pretty
year.
brutal,
So,
yeah.
but if they're talking about like, there was one of the conditions, I believe, was what that there was something about the NFL replay center handling certain calls. I don't know if it was roughing the
Yes.
passer, and it's kind of like, you give an inch, I mean, you don't want to take it all the way there, but what's the point, you could say, of having, say, an umpire next to
Right.
the referee?
I
If
also think it's the fact that they're still part-time employees. Why? Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah, it's too big. It's just too big of an industry to have. And now
Yes.
I would argue that goes. I think the owners like that, and I bet those guys like it too. Because it's like, imagine if your side gig paid you 200 grand or whatever they
Right.
make
Yeah.
on top of being a lawyer or
Right.
whatever else they are. It's probably preferable to them to have dual
Yeah.
incomes. But yeah, it seems minor league to have your guys just as like temp part-time
Right. You
weekend
could
employees.
find people willing to do this on a full-time basis for 300 grand or whatever it is that they
Yeah, I
make.
would. I would. I'd consider it. The
Exactly.
travel's tough. I'll be honest, but a
I
lot of
mean, it's,
Arizona for me as a back judge. They're like, you got Arizona, buddy.
but it's what, 21 weeks out of the year? And then otherwise you'd be kind of just studying the rules at home. I think
Yeah,
it'd be
just
fine.
maybe VR headsets like the quarterbacks have, but you're the official. That'd be
They
sick.
probably fly home the night of a game. So they're probably only gone for like a day.
Yeah. I had a thought. Oh yeah, so this will probably segue into your first non-Patriots thought, but like talking about the NFL having money,
Mm-hmm.
that's what always pissed me off when they like laid off everyone from the NFL network. And it's
Yeah.
like, first of all, I bet you could run this without taking a loss. Like it's a
Right.
major media company, but like
Yeah.
even if it wasn't making money and even if it was costing you, like you're the NFL, like it doesn't have to be a moneymaker for you. You're not
Right.
CBS or ESPN. Like you are a network that entirely exists with the league, and then they've just blown it up and ruined it. And it's always pissed me off. And I say it might segue because your former employer.
Yeah. So first of all, yeah, PFF, who I worked for from, I believe it was like July 2021 until December 2022, uh, when I was part of their first round of layoffs. They sold the business to business operation for, I think it's like $100 million. And then
B2B. It's B2B, that's all the job
that's
lingo.
that's the part that gets sold to NFL teams. And then their consumer side, which is what you see when you go to pff.com, still exists, but almost everyone got laid off yesterday. Like Nathan Yonke, who's the fancy guy, I think was the only one who was like, "Hey, I still have a job, by the way." So I don't know who's running that. I don't know who's even still employed. I know that Nathan Yonke's there, but a lot of great people, a lot of talented people just got laid off because the business got sold, and those people are getting very little out of this, and it sucks. And I would urge everyone to listen to the Check the Mike podcast because Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson, and Mike Renner all worked at PFF for much longer than I did, and they discussed basically the downfall of PFF on their podcast this morning. But I also wanted to give kind of my own personal experience because they were all there for kind of like the glory days of PFF. And I was there for like the worst years of
Mm.
PFF. And the ones that they kind of described as like, hey, this is why this was happening, and this is why the business failed. I was at Nesson before I left for PFF, and I do not regret going to PFF because I'm not sure if you remember the story out there. It was a few years ago, but there was a Nesson executive who got arrested
Hmm.
for what?
Stealing all the money, basically.
Right. He basically like
He
created, or
created
he
a
allegedly
fake
created a
company.
company and then was just siphoning money from Nesson to his own company, allegedly, and it was
I
like $500,000 or something like
I
that.
believe he was convicted, right?
I don't remember the exact. I think he was. I just don't want to get sued for anything that I'm saying. Yeah, it looks like
Sentenced to
Connecticut
three
man
years.
sentenced to more than 3 years. Yeah, so he was my boss at Nesson at the time, and
And
this was before all this came out or happened or whatever.
and he lost his federal appeal last August, just so you
Okay,
know.
so that guy's my boss. clearly I'm like, like I said, none of that had happened yet. None of that had come out yet. But
Well, it was happening. It just had not
listen,
come out.
I could tell that this was not a guy that I necessarily wanted to work for at the time. So when PFF, who I knew a lot of people there and everything, kind of came calling and they had a national like NFL reporter job, it was a no-brainer to go over there. I would say though that it was like my first full company meeting, and my boss at the time at PFF was leading this meeting, and there was an immediate like, uh oh, this is this might have been a lateral move from a boss perspective here, of going from one person who didn't necessarily know what they were doing to another one. And um, Sam Monson on the Check the Mic podcast that came out today was asked, like, who are the two people who you think were kind of the cause of the downfall of PFF? And Steve Palazzolo didn't want to talk about it. Mike Renner didn't want to talk about it, but Sam Monson specifically mentioned George Shakuri and Austin Collinsworth as the two people who were kind of the downfall of everything that happened. And George was the one who was a much more like front facing boss. And he was the one who was leading these meetings, and it was just immediately like, I'm not sure if this person knows exactly what they're supposed to be doing. And that's why the company went under. I don't want to I don't really have any hard feelings towards PFF because things kind of wound up going fine for me anyway, going the Herald. But from being there for a year and a half, I'm almost more surprised that the company lasted as long as it did to now April 2026 than I am that this is what happened, and that now in 2026, who knows what the future of PFF is even going to look like. But I do think it's a huge loss for the NFL in general, because like you and I go on pff.com all the time and look up grades and stats and all these things. And I think there's a ton of value in all of that being out there. I also think that now there are other companies who have picked up the mantle from PFF and possibly even do it better. So in the long run, I think the NFL is better off that PFF existed. I think that if PFF was run better, the NFL would be even better off. But it just sucks. When people lose their jobs, it sucks. And when certain people come out of the deal with $100 million and other people get almost nothing, that sucks more.
Yeah. It's just, I think it's a symptom of a larger issue where everything kind of sucks right now.
Right.
A lot of companies that are making plenty of money are sort of fixing their numbers by just getting rid of people, which is nothing new necessarily, but it does feel uniquely modern in this. I don't know if how much AI is impacting all these things, where it's like, I'll just tell you, like, it's going to suck. Like, if you're not worried about some of these developments right now, like, it'll affect you in some way at some point, and it will be crappy. So we might have told the story before. So you got laid off in December of 22?
Yeah.
And I don't remember how. It was probably a few days after that I got a new phone. I went to the Verizon store and got a new iPhone, and I was doing the thing where you're like, or no, it probably came in the mail. I don't know. But like, you got your two phones and it's like syncing them up, and it's like, there was probably 10 minutes where you could not contact me. I didn't have an existence. And during that 10 minutes, you texted me saying, do you want to start a podcast? Never got it, because then like 6 hours later, you're like, so I guess not. And I was like, what? And you're like, I texted you. I'm like, what time did you text? And I was like, that's unbelievable.
It was great timing. Yeah.
I wouldn't have even done the follow-up text if I were you. I would have been so embarrassed. But
thank God I did. And thank God for all of our listeners I did.
That was the birth of Pat's chat there. So
it was, yeah. And yeah, I mean, I was fortunate enough to kind of land on my feet, but I think that if all of that had happened years later, then I might not be as fortunate. And I think that a lot of people who got laid off by PFF, unfortunately, like, the reality of the situation is that like you would love all those people to land on their feet and get another job in this industry and keep working. But that's probably not the reality of the situation. And the more companies that get sold or fold up or do whatever, the less jobs there are going to be in sports media, which is unfortunate.
I can confirm I was laid off. It was a year anniversary a couple weeks ago. So that's been, I'm piecing it together.
Yeah.
a lot of small things. So thankful for those, but it's
Yeah.
not as easy as you think it would or should be to just get another one. It feels like it's shrinking
Yeah.
everywhere, like
No, for
locally,
sure.
nationally. Not it's not a great feeling,
Yeah, and I think
especially.
ESPN and NFL Network merging is not ultimately going to be a solution to this problem.
And something about we sports media people, Doug, we don't have a lot of skills, not a lot of transferable skills to real jobs that really impact the world.
It is
So
true. Yeah. So,
what
I
are you
mean, I
going to do?
guess don't feel bad for us because we put ourselves in this situation. But yeah.
We should have just done business,
Yeah.
There's
Yeah.
always business for business.
There's always a lot of business. Lighter note, I did have two other questions for you.
I have a question for you after that.
I'll ask you one question, then you can ask a question, then I'll ask another question.
We'll volley questions here.
When you go on a website and it says, "Do you accept cookies?"
Hell no.
You never do?
Oh, hell no. Except unless I have to click something and there's a menu and I got to do toggles, then I'm like, you can have all my information, bro.
I'm
That's all it
vibes
takes.
based. I'm vibes based on accepting cookies.
So if
It's
they have the right ethos, you're in. You can have my cookies.
if it's a yes or no, I'm hitting no. If it's accept or like read more, screw it. I'm hitting accept.
Yeah,
at
I'm
that
never
point.
doing the second window thing.
Yeah.
Sometimes they don't give, they're just like, hey, heads up, just so you know, we're going to take your cookies. And all you have is like acknowledge. That's the only button. And you're like, well, why did you even bother with that?
I think if it wasn't called cookies, I might not be accepting it as much.
Tracking data information,
Right.
stuff like that.
Yeah.
I think
if they called it like, we're going to steal your personal information, I'd be like, no, you can't do that. Because when I download an app and it says like, hey, can we like track you? I'm like, no, you can't do that.
that's my phone, bro.
Yeah. But when it's called cookies, I'm like, I guess. I mean, what's the harm?
Cookie Monster, he's a cool guy.
Yeah.
We are class of 86. We are of that unique generation that lived pre-internet, developed with the internet, have, live every day with the internet now. What was I going to say? Oh, so let's say, like, pick a year when, like, remember, say 1999, you go to candyland.com, play some mini golf. You go to therock.com. He had a kick-ass website at the time and very rudimentary internet at the time. Imagine going back and being like, man, internet websites in 2026 are going to be amazing. But it's like, in fact, you'll have this pop up, you'll have that pull down, especially if you're on your phone, you're going to have a pull down, you're going to have an autoplay ad, you're going to have a video playing somewhere, like, especially if you're looking up a recipe. Right. You cannot use your phone. And it's just like the internet is worse than it was 20 years ago. And that makes no sense. Cookies are part of that.
I was trying to follow along with a recipe on my phone the other day. And every 15 seconds, it would just scroll back to the top of the website. So my hands are all messy. I've got all this, and then I have to constantly scroll back down and be like, all right, how many teaspoons of cumin do I need for this?
It's garbage. It's garbage, Doug.
Yeah.
All right, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
This is a personal question.
All right.
Can you breathe through your nose?
I can, but not as well as I can breathe through my mouth.
Okay, that's encouraging, because I'm trying to wonder, like, if I have a deviated septum or something.
I think I might. So I also broke my nose in 2008, and I cannot remember how well I could breathe through my nose before 2008, but I think it is not seamless to breathe through my nose.
To me, I feel like I'm suffocating. Like I don't know that I could live with just the nose. Like, and so I guess I see the trend of people sleeping with the mouth tape, and it gives me heart palpitations thinking about that, because I'd feel like I'm like drowning. So
yeah,
I should see a doctor, I think, is what it comes down to. But it's so difficult to see a doctor. Have you ever had a doctor laugh at you? I have.
I don't think I have. No,
I have this weird thumb.
I don't go to doctors enough for them to laugh at me.
Like, you can't see it now, but like sometimes the padding of my thumb, whatever you call it, like, it swells up real bad. I get some sort of tendonitis in there. And my doctor sent me to a hand doctor, and they took an x-ray, and he was like literally laughing at me. And it's like, dude, I didn't say I had a bone issue. Like, the x-ray is not going to, like, why are you laughing at me? Now I'm not going to get it fixed.
That's messed up. Doctors shouldn't laugh at you.
I agree.
But anyway,
no,
I've actually thought about that before, of like, maybe I should be able to breathe through my nose a little bit better. And the frightening thing about it is that when I'm conscious, I can consciously choose to close my mouth and breathe through my nose. But when I'm asleep, all bets are off. I might be just breathing through my mouth the whole damn time, you know?
Yeah, well, my snoring's picked up. So I think something happened to my nose. I don't know what, but like I feel stuffed all the time
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not sick. So something, we got to fix it. We got to fix it. Any
Yeah.
ENTs out there that do house calls, please reach out because I'm afraid to call the doctor because they'll laugh at me.
I've got one more question. This is
Mhm.
a plane related question. All right.
Airplanes.
You're sitting down. They come through with the beverages. You have a tray table with a cup holder that's, I don't even know, 1/8 of an inch tall, you know?
Oh, like it's like top to bottom.
Yeah,
Yeah, very
it's
thin. Very thin.
shallow.
Yeah.
So then you ask for a drink and they give you a can and a cup of ice. Why do we need the cup and ice? Why is that assumed that you want that? What like we drink through cans all the time. When you have a can of Coke at home, you're not pouring that sucker into a cup of ice, are you?
Some people, and I'm not going to say they're crazy or not because maybe they're right. Some people are afraid of all the germs on top of that can, right?
Would
So
you
they
be that
don't.
person?
No, I'm at peace with the number of germs, the amount of germs that I come in contact with, but I get it. But then
So when you're pouring when
let
you're
me
pouring
riddle
the
you
drink from the
this.
can, it still needs to touch the can to pour into the cup.
Yeah, but your lips aren't like on the top, which could be covered
I
in filth or
guess, yeah.
whatever. But my question would be this: where are we making that ice? What's the source of that ice? Like, how often is that freezer cleaned out? Like, what's the water source? What are we
I
looking at? What's the hose situation? Like, the ice could be worse than the can.
I just personally don't need two things given to me when space is already limited on a flight. And I don't need one of those things to inevitably contain liquidy ice,
Well, think
which I have
about
I have nowhere to put it other than the tray table. And if I don't want the tray table down, then I just have to wait for them to come by and collect the trash. I don't think we need the cup with ice. You can ask for it. I don't think that they need to immediately pour it into the cup and hand it to you.
you are the wrong person to make this as the consumer because this is like a bonus for you. When those flight attendants come through trash with just a little
Yeah,
plastic bag and they're taking all those cups of
right.
ice, and then where do you put it? You're on an airplane. You can't
Yeah, it's a
just
watery bag on an
yeah,
airplane.
pain in the neck. So yeah, fair enough.
I
I mean,
agree.
I used to when I was a kid. My stepmother worked for American Airlines, so I flew American a lot, and their ice was like those little like cylinders with holes in the
Yeah,
middle.
yep.
I love those. You could stick your tongue through. Like
I think they
it was
still
a
have them,
really it was a lot of
but
fun.
I typically just say, "Give me the can," or I don't need a drink at all. I've usually brought a drink onto the plane with me.
Well, not everyone is independently wealthy like you, so some of us need that free drink.
I do still say though, I mean, I might not have ever expressed this on on this podcast, but listen, I know that they've banned liquids for security reasons at the airport.
Mhm.
I think the airports also they know that they've got you by the balls to
Right.
then buy the $5 drink once once you're in the
5,
airport.
if you're lucky, 5.
I think that that plays into it a little bit. That the airport's making a decent chunk of money by not allowing you to bring your home drinks onto the plane.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the threat level is for the beverages. Like if
Yeah,
you've ever traveled and it's like the specific rules about like mothers traveling with like breast milk, like they have
right.
to be frozen, but you can have like 1 or 2 bottles, and it's kind of like, listen, you should just be fine. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
what are we talking about here? Like, it's a little excessive, but
yeah.
safety first. Um, I had we are the Baseball Boys
Mm-hmm.
podcast, and the Battling Baseball Boys of Boston are off to a really bad start.
Yes.
And I was reminded last night because there was a moment. I don't know if you saw the Bad News Bears type play where they threw down a second in the dirt. Marcelo Meyer chases it down, tries to throw home. Brian Bayo decides to like dive at it, and it's a clown show. That was actually strike 2, and then he threw another swinging strike, and no one knew that it was strike 3. And the at bat continued. Um, no one knew, including Alex Cora. And to me, that reminded me of the Gerard Mayo era. Like that's something
Yeah.
where it's like the person in charge didn't pay attention to the game in front of his face.
Right.
And that's, you don't want to be
Wait, I
trying.
didn't see this. So did the umpire also not know?
Yeah, he forgot that the play where the bad news bears happened was strike two. So the at bat continued. Might have
That
ended in a
seems
walk.
wow.
Yeah, it was a major goof. And he said after the game, he's like, I just didn't know. I messed up. I'm mad about it.
Alex Cora said that? Or
No, the umpire said that, which never happens. But Cora, as the manager, like not. That's things are bad. Things are bad for the
yeah.
beloved
I mean, you
Battle
got to
of
at least be
Baseball
looking
players.
up at the scoreboard. The little dots, the lights that are up
No
there.
one knew, and like Bayo didn't know, Wong didn't know, the infield didn't know. Like no one said a peep.
Yeah, I mean,
because they can
someone
check
has
that.
to know in that situation.
Yeah, pretty bad. But it just reminded me, I don't know specifically what in the Mayo year, but it felt like a Mayo-esque year type situation. And that's not what the Red Sox are going to need if they want to have a real relevant season here.
That is crazy. Yeah, you would think that someone would have known that, but it's too bad. Did you see CB Buckner saying
base.
that what's his bucket didn't step on first base? That was crazy.
Was that on? He wasn't looking.
Right. So
And
why
like,
just assume he didn't step on it?
like
Yeah.
when in doubt, don't call someone out for doing a basic part of
Right.
running the bases.
Yeah.
That was weird. That guy is not long for the ABS era. I don't believe. I believe he'll be quitting soon because not all of these guys are built to get mocked by 40,000 people.
Right.
Like continue, and it can just keep happening. It can just keep happening. And I think the Yankees had 4 the other night on all low pitches in Seattle, and it was like they won every challenge. Today, the Red Sox challenged a strike call, and it was off by 2 inches. Like that's not a strike, and some of these guys won't be able to handle it.
In 10 years, will umpires be on the field?
I think so. There's no way to call safe and out with a robot. I don't think.
That's the issue. Is that like
tags and like there's a ball going into a glove and a foot on the base. There's a slide. There's a tag.
That's the part that. But is someone else in that person's ear? I guess not. Right?
Yeah,
because it's got to be immediate.
Yeah, I mean the balls
you
and
have to
strikes
react
maybe
to something as a baseball player.
They have tried that at some levels where the ump just has an earpiece in and he just says what it is. I don't know what level.
Yeah.
But when the system malfunctions, like I've seen a game end, it went viral or whatever, and it was like a pitch in the dirt, and the machine said strike. Like there was a malfunction, so the ump's like strike 3, you're out, and everyone was like no, and it was like what do you want me to do? I'm not the official.
I'm not. Yeah, I'm just a guy.
But yeah, I don't know. It's I love the ABS system. I think it's been for one, the accountability on these guys for just consistently being wrong. It's like I've always said when networks put the strike zone on the box on the screen every pitch, I'm always like, that's false because there's no such thing as a strike zone because like it's all sort of this amorphous idea. Yeah. But now there is a strike zone, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it is
like
cool.
Wiffle ball.
I'm in support of it. I haven't been able to watch much of the Red Sox just because I've been traveling so much, but let's see if they can pull this thing together because it has not been pretty to start the season.
Hopefully you get to cover some more games.
Maybe
you were there when Bregman hurt his quad.
I was covering that game. It was a eventful first game of a doubleheader.
We should do a podcast from Fenway.
Oh, wow. There's a game going on right this second, huh?
Yeah. It's there was a little bit of some more bad news bear situations too right now. I had one final thought I wanted to throw at you.
Yeah.
Because I've now listened probably like 3 times to the new Newfound Glory album.
Oh.
And so it'll never mean a lot to us, like new pop punk albums from bands that meant a lot to us in the past. So like it's fine. Like I accept it for what it is. And like some of the lyrics are brutal. Some of the vocal melodies are really tough. But what I love about this album is that Chad Gilbert is just committed, despite his life circumstances, to just writing riffs.
Yeah.
And it's like the first 7 songs maybe are just a riff. And then the full band comes in and the whole song is based on that riff. Yeah. And I'm like, there's something beautiful about this, just a man that is just like, you know what? I'm fighting cancer every day. Like I have a setback, but like I have to write these riffs.
Yeah.
Come hell or high water. And he's banging out riffs. And for that, I think it's beautiful.
100%. I have not listened to the full album yet. I'll have to do that. Are you a Movie Life guy? Do you like the Movie Life?
So I liked a couple songs back in the day. I saw I Am the Avalanche open for the Menzingers, maybe.
Okay.
So maybe it wasn't. I don't know if it was the Menzingers, but I saw them open somewhere at the Paradise. So I count them as the Movie Life. I don't really know what happened, but
Yeah.
I liked them, but it was never like a follower.
I've never been a Movie Life guy either. I also don't see a huge difference between the Movie Life and I Am the Avalanche. But the Movie Life released an album in 2017, which I've randomly been listening to, and that's the best Movie Life content I think is out there. So I'd suggest that
2017.
one. Yeah,
Was that like a comeback type thing?
it was. Yeah, it's really good. But I'm also
Um,
someone who doesn't really, in general, like the Movie Life.
you know what? They opened for Bayside, I think.
That makes more
And
sense.
my friend was buying merch after, which is like in the back of the Paradise, and I was like,
Mhm.
I'll get your coat. I'll wait in the coat line. So I was
Mhm.
waiting to get, which is right next to the merch stand. And Vinny, the singer of I Am the Avalanche, was like right there, and I ended up like right next to him for like long enough where I felt like I was like, "Hey, you guys were great tonight." He's like, "Yeah, man, thanks." And I was like, "Still standing right here." Like, how about the weather, huh?
Yeah, like anyone else in that building would have been like way more psyched for that
I mean,
interaction. But
I
you're,
was like, friendly,
yeah,
but like
no, for sure.
when you're just telling
They
a
would have had more to
stranger,
say, probably.
yeah, which I guess is for the best. I bet you don't want to hear like
That is
you,
true.
you don't always
Yeah,
want to hear a lot. You just like,
yeah.
hey man, great. But then I was just still standing
Great job.
there, and it was like, I'm gonna look over this way. Let me check my phone.
So, are you a Mets fan?
Yeah, but yeah, no, they were
Jets or
good.
Giants?
That's actually not a bad sports weather.
Yeah.
Always safe bets.
Yeah. All right. Well, we've been doing this podcast for too long. We're about to start talking about the weather, but all right. We will talk to you guys
Oh wait,
again.
no,
Uh-oh. Oh God.
no, no! Don't end it.
Is this
People
gonna
might
be?
wonder. No,
Is
no,
this gonna
no.
go on forever?
It is weather related. People might wonder, like, what did Doug and Mike talk about off the air? Like, what kind of cool conversations did they have? What did you text me last week? You texted me last
I
week.
texted you that it was the perfect weather one day.
It was like
Yeah.
48 and sunny, and I was like, damn right it is. Damn right it is. If we hit the 60, too hot. 48
I
and
don't think it was
sunny,
48. I think it was in the 50s, right?
50, but not too sunny. High 40s sunny is great. 62 and sunny is too hot.
God, I'm trying to find this.
Yeah, because we have so many cool conversations.
Let's see. I don't know if it's for some reason it's like not on my
On your
laptop.
Yeah.
Okay, I don't know.
It happened though. It really
it did
happened.
happen. For some reason, it's not on my laptop text. So I'll go through my phone real quick because I do want to look at what the weather was that day.
I text a lot about the weather.
Oh, 66 with no sun. It was 66 with no sun.
That's a nice day. That's
Yeah.
a nice day.
Yep.
Because
I was wearing, you could wear anything that day. 66 and no sun, you could wear pretty much anything.
shorts and a light sweatshirt or a quarter zip is
Yeah.
like that's a dream. That's a dream. And I feel like we sparred last year
Yeah.
because I said it was too hot. It was like 74.
Right.
And I was like, it's oppressively hot out right now. And you're like, what are you talking about? And I think some of it has taken. I'm not saying I can change your mind, but something has clicked where you're like, I get it. And I appreciate that.
In Arizona, it was like 97.
That's too hot.
I'm gonna say something crazy though. I was never uncomfortable. I think I didn't spend a lot of time in the sun, but I was outside working under shade, and I was like, "This is nice."
I bet you would have been uncomfortable in the sun.
Probably, yeah,
Mm.
yeah. The issue with Arizona at times, it wasn't this time because I was just appreciative of being in the warm weather, is that it will still be 100 at like 10 p.m. And at that point, it feels inescapable.
Yeah, I mean, human beings weren't created to live in such a climate. Like,
Yeah.
they're really talk about shoehorning, but it works for some people.
Yeah.
All right, we did talk about the weather.
All right, thank God we talked about the weather. All right, goodbye.